Do you have a favorite game that brings out the fond memories from yesteryear, but's now out of print? Maybe you would love to have that game in your collection, or you need some replacement pieces for the copy that you already have. What game would you love to see go back into print? Let me know what that game is for you in the comments. For me, I'll give you the 5 games I would love to see come back from different categories. When I was a kid, my cousins lived right by our family. In the early 90s, the things that we could do together at our cousin's house were to play Duck Hunt, OG Super Mario Bros., or Tengen Tetris from the Nintendo, or we could play board games. By far, my favorite game to play with them was the Great Museum Caper. While this is branded as a clue game, the only similarity is the 6 colorful character pieces that you roll on a die to move across the board. The premise of the game is that an art thief wants to break into the museum and steal paintings and escape. The other players are the traditional clue characters that want to stop the thief. The thief is invisible to the other players and secretly makes their moves on a piece of paper while the other players use cameras and line of sight to try to catch the thief. As the thief pilfers paintings, they are removed from the actual board as the tension rises and the stakes get higher and higher. At any point, the thief can try to escape. Conversely, at any point, if a player lands on top of the thief, the game is over, and the thief loses. The game moves pretty quickly as the thief gets to move every other turn, and the other players discuss their strategy as they attempt to corral the thief. You can either play a short, quick game, or allow each player to be the thief, and see who could take the most paintings without getting caught. I was fortunate to find a copy of the game on the secondary market a couple of years ago, and as I've played it with my children, I have confirmed that I still enjoy playing this game as an adult, and I think families with kids of all ages, as well as gaming groups that like quick, collaborative, or hidden movement games, would benefit from having this game. I have been a huge fan of Star Wars ever since I saw the original film when I was 8 years old. I also grew up in the 90s, during the time where the original trilogy was re-released. LucasArts created Star Wars games of varying quality, and Decipher created the Star Wars customizable card game. This predated the Pokemon card game craze, and from what I saw as a junior higher, the only bigger card game at the time was Magic the Gathering, which I didn't really have interest in because it didn't have all my favorite characters and ships. The rules for the Star Wars CCG weren't the easiest, and each new collection of cards would add new wrinkles to the ever-expanding rulebook. That being said, I loved collecting cards and playing the 1 vs. 1 dark side versus light side card game. It had space battles and skirmishes on planets. You could train Jedi or blow up planets with the Death Star. The depth and breadth of the game was very wide in the Star Wars universe. Sadly, though perhaps not for my high school age wallet, Decipher lost the license for the game in 2001 and it went out of print. While I know that there is no way this is ever coming back, there is plenty of nostalgia for me and I would love, love, love to see it again. Middle-earth has been given some great treatment in the gaming world since Peter Jackson's Fellowship of the Ring released in 2001. Battle for Middle-earth 1 and 2 were classic strategy computer games, and War of the Ring is an epic war on a board. The board game that I would love to see reprinted actually predates the movie by a year. The Lord of the Rings is a cooperative board game that has players take on the roles of Frodo, Sam, Merry, Pippin, and Fatty Bolger as they try to take the ring to Mordor to destroy it. The attractive aspect of this game is that it is a cooperative game, which I would love to have in my collection to play with my family. While we can play out the same conflict from opposing sides in War of the Ring, it would be great to use teamwork to play through the same story, discussing how we will face the challenges that are presented and progressing together. With Middle-earth getting another renaissance with Rings of Power and new films on the horizon, some of the really well-developed games from the early 2000s could use another look, including this one. In the early 2000s, Trivial Pursuit did a set of games that were topical and had DVD questions to collect the colored wedges and the winning final questions at the end of the game. Fortunately for me, since the prequel trilogy of Star Wars and Lord of the Rings were new and relevant at the time, they were given these specialized Trivial Pursuit games. I love them both and still have them. What I would love to see for these is an update. For Star Wars, integrating shows like Clone Wars, Rebels, Mandalorian, and Ahsoka would be a really cool way to expand the game. And I guess they could also add episodes 7 through 9, but including it wouldn't be my primary focus here. For Lord of the Rings, a re-release would include the opportunity to include questions from The Hobbit for the die-hard Tolkien fans. I believe the inclusion of the DVD digital game with Trivial Pursuit was ahead of its time, and a re-release could include digital questions on an app or accessible on Hasbro's website for those who own the game. Make it happen, Hasbro. My favorite shows in the mid-2000s were The Office and Battlestar Galactica. The busyness of life in 2008 meant that I missed Battlestar Galactica the game. I would love the opportunity to circle back and try it now. The premise of Battlestar Galactica is that humans created robots called Cylons, and then eventually they went to war with their creations. Those robots left, but eventually returned with some of the Cylons looking like humans and able to infiltrate humanity as spies. The story is a fight for survival centering around a spaceship called the Battlestar Galactica. I love the show because it really delved into the deep questions about good and evil, right and wrong, and morality. And instead of handing the viewer an answer, it allowed the viewer to grapple with the questions as well as seeing how different perspectives impacted the decision-making of different characters in the show. As for the game, it fits well with the infiltration theme. Like the card game Mafia that I enjoyed playing growing up, or the game Among Us today, some of the players are spies, Cylons, trying to sabotage the Galactica and destroy the other players. Conversely, the non-Cylon players attempt to survive attacks from Cylons from the outside while trying to figure out who the traitors are from the inside. I would love another shot at this game. Okay, I said I have 5, but I do have one honorable mention. Campaign for North Africa. I'll admit, I don't actually want this game. I want a room that I could devote to setting up this game and playing it for the rest of my life. For anyone who doesn't know, Campaign for North Africa was a game created in the 1970s that goes through the World War II Allied campaign to free North Africa from the Axis powers. The playtime is purported to take up to 1,500 hours. Part of me would love the task of actually playing the real game, or perhaps a digital version would allow for logistics to be cleaned up. I don't really want it, but I want to want it. So there they are, my 5 suggestions, and honorable mention, for out-of-print games that I would love to see reprinted. What games would go on your list? Comment below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.